All right, let's start off with our lacrosse ball and just spending some time, nothing crazy, but really starting to work into the piriformis, that smaller, deep muscle of the hip. And you can also work and get all of the glute muscles as you kind of roll around on the ball and change the orientation of your hips in relation to the ball. But just making sure you're breathing, slowing down your breath, not trying to get too tight, not trying to hold your breath, just working into those areas of the hip. So let's hit both sides just for the sake of this video and the time of it. I'll show you just one side, but let's start there. And once you've got your ball and you still got it out, let's hit both sides of your feet and just working through the arch. And you'll find areas of your foot, whether it's back further close to the heel, maybe it's mid-arch, maybe it's closer to the balls of your feet. But that'll give you some idea of where some of that tightness might build and what that is going to do. If there is tightness in that area, it leads up into the calf and potentially up into the posterior backside of your knee. So hitting kind of the areas in the hip and the foot can kind of give us some extra help in both the hamstring and the calf, in hopes to kind of loosen those areas and hopefully loosen the areas around the knee. So always spending some time with the lacrosse ball first on both sides of your feet, both hips. Let's start there. And then go ahead and grab your roller stick. And what I want you to do is a similar approach. Let's start with the hamstring. And I kind of like to go in this position here where I work my foot back closer to my hips, kind of have my heel off the ground, and relaxing my hamstring. That kind of really exposes the hamstring. So you can kind of really put some pressure into the hamstring, into the adductor, the inside thigh muscle there, into the IT band, all those areas. Let's really try and work those areas. Putting enough pressure to where it's uncomfortable, but not necessarily super painful, right? We need to have enough pressure to work the fascia around the muscle. Let's also work the thigh, the quads, the areas down kind of just above the knee, all the way up to the hip. Applying that reasonable amount of pressure to get the effect from it. What we're hoping to do here is to loosen that fascia and make it more pliable, more elastic, more stretchable. And that's going to help us work into more mobility of the movements we do directly after. So keep that in mind as we're working down into our calf, kind of making sure we're pushing into those calf muscles, nice and deep there. You can also hit that muscle on the front part, the anterior tibialis. You hit that area as well. So let's take some time, even though we're only having pain in the back of one leg or one knee, I still recommend doing all sides. It only takes an extra 30 seconds or so doing both sides of our body, because some of these mobility movements are going to be targeting both sides. So just take a few minutes to hit both. And I think your patience will be rewarded on that end. All right. So find a comfortable area here. And we're just going to start really simply and just do a hamstring stretch. Nothing crazy, just kind of go into that single-sided hamstring stretch. Don't really force yourself to get into that stretch position. So maybe slight discomfort, or just kind of feeling like I feel the stretch happening, but it's not overly stretched, or it's not a painful stretch, right? Just slowing your breath down, inhaling through your nose, exhaling smoothly through your mouth, just nice and smooth. Hitting this one side, slowly working into further areas of that stretch. Again, not forcing the stretch, just trying to get that hamstring to loosen up a little bit and see if that can help alleviate a little bit of the tightness in the hip and knee. Okay. From here, let's just do a both-sided approach here for the hamstring. I think that'll be beneficial. We're going to go into a little kind of hip movement here, which I think will help as well. So go ahead and lie straight on your back, knees are bent, in this position. And let's just work our knees down to the left, back up to the middle, and down to the right. And a couple things I like to think about as I do this. I exhale as I turn. And as I get further down into that turn, obviously using my abs to help keep my spine nice and stable, but that backside hip, I like to fire that glute a little bit and work further into that position. So even though we're not really targeting the knee, we're really targeting the areas around the hip that tend to be excessively tight, that may be contributing to some of the knee tightness and knee pain. Okay. And while we're here, let's go ahead and get 10 single glute bridges each side. And what I want you to focus on here is driving through the heel and squeezing your glute as you pop up. Okay. Exhaling to the top, engaging your abs, trying to keep both sides of your hip square as you go upward to the ceiling. Okay, so let's get 10 each side. Exhale to the top, squeeze your glute, drive through your heel, get those hips nice and high, control that downward phase. All right. Next one, let's just do a very simple work into our kind of our yoga, more yoga-esque pose here. Let me get a bit better position on my mat. Working into that pigeon pose, so really targeting the hip and really trying to work further into what we just targeted with our lacrosse ball, the glutes and piriformis and all those muscles of the hip. And what you're trying to do here is really just trying to relax into that stretch, not trying to force it. If it takes some time for you to really start to relax into that stretch, just let it happen, right? Nice smooth inhales through your nose, nice long slow exhales through your mouth, just really using that breath to help relax your entire body, right? Relax around the stretch, try and not be tight as you work into it. Let's try and go both sides here. And I think you'll notice targeting those areas can be very helpful. So nice and smooth, just sit down slowly into that stretch, feel the glutes, deeper muscles of the hips stretch, just start to relax. Take that stretch, not trying to force it. Okay. While we're still in this position, let's work into our downward dog. I've got a slight, maybe hip width stance of my feet, and I'm trying to really push through the ground back into my hips, work my heels to the ground as I feel that stretch all the way through the back from my hamstrings down into my calves. Kind of hold that position maybe 4 or 5 seconds. As you exhale, push back. Very nice. Let's get 2 more. Last one. Very good. All right, 2 more that we can run with here. First of which is we're kind of in a shrunk down half kneeling position where my front heel is close to my back knee. What I want you to do is push down on the front of your foot, grab your heel and kind of lock your foot in place. And as you're holding that foot down in place, I want you to slightly lean forward, pushing that knee forward. And what we're doing here is stretching the deep muscle of our calf, called the soleus muscle. So just kind of pushing into that tightness, doing your best to relax your foot, just holding your foot down in place with your arms and hands, and letting that range of motion and stretch take place. I just kind of lean into that position 2-3 seconds, and then back off. Okay, so we're really just trying to target all of those muscles around the hip and the calf that will have some relation to that knee being tight. So let's get both feet here. I think it's worthwhile again, working into those stretches. Just a 2-3 second count, feel that stretch, and then back off. Okay. And then we'll finish with a very simple quad stretch, nothing crazy. We'll kind of keep it easy to get into on a side lying position. You can kind of bring that bottom leg bent up in that position here, reaching back, grabbing your foot, getting to the point where you're nice and straight from your tailbone all the way through your spine and head, and even slightly tucking your hips under to really feel that stretch up into the hip and quad muscle. So let's just hit this 15-20 seconds, just relaxing into that stretch. Again, feeling the stretch, relaxing into it, not working into any kind of pain. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit both sides again. Making sure when you do this, you're spending that minute or two before we get into these mobility and flexibility exercises, just to use your lacrosse ball, use your stick roller, open up some of those areas that allow us to get into some of these positions a little bit easier, so we can really work on targeting those muscles in those areas that much better. So the few minutes you spend before doing the soft tissue will definitely pay off as you work into some of these movements. All right, so let's give that a try. I would do it every day. You can do it before the workout, you can do it in the morning when you wake up, in the evening, maybe you have a little break during work where you can kind of mix it in. But let's try and be consistent with doing it every day and see if that helps with the knee.